The lymphatic system is a system that plays many roles in the body. For example, it has an immune function. It also functions to return fluid from the fluid that's lost at the capillaries back to the circulatory system. It also plays a role in delivering and transporting fats in your body that are absorbed in the small intestine. So when we look at the lymphatic system, it includes, we have lymph vessels, we have lymph nodes, we have tonsils, and we have the spleen. And then we even have some specialized lymphatic tissue, which is found within the small intestine. But these are the ones that you need to know. So when we look at the lymphatic system, we'll note that it is extensive throughout the body. And even though your textbook says that it is not found in the brain, they have recently discovered that they were just not seeing it. And so with better technology, they noticed that they could find lymphatic vessels in the brain, which is really important to thinking about the possible link between the lymphatic system and some brain disorders like Alzheimer's. So when you think about the lymph nodes, you might know that when you get sick, the glands in your neck swell. Now, those are technically not glands. Those are actually your lymph nodes. And so the lymph nodes contain within them leukocytes, which are white blood cells. And if they detect an infection, they sometimes undergo cell division and they cause swelling of the lymph node. Now, you might, if you got really sick, you might not just have swollen lymph nodes in your neck, but you might also have them in your armpits and in your groin area. So if we look at this diagram, for example, you'll note that we have lymph nodes in the neck, the cervical nodes. We have lymph nodes in your armpits, which are the axillary nodes. And then we have lymph nodes in the groin area, which are the inguinal nodes. You'll also note that the spleen is just a single organ that sits up near the stomach area on that, that would be the left side of the body. And then we also have all of these lymphatic vessels that are running throughout the body that are helping to return fluid that is lost from the capillaries back to the circulatory system. So let's talk about the functions that we just mentioned. So where this fluid gets returned to is actually up in the neck region near the jugular vein. So if we look at this diagram again, you'll notice that the lymphatic vessels eventually return their fluids, their lymph, to the circulatory system that is located up here near the right and the left jugular vein. Now, one of the other interesting things about the lymphatic system is that if we look at the differences between the left and the right sides of the body, they are not symmetric. So notice that the area on the right side only includes the right side of the head and the right shoulder and the right arm, but your legs are actually being transported up the left side of the body. And so I am not sure why our lymphatic system is asymmetrical. So it's not symmetrical, it's without symmetry. So if we look at the capillaries, you'll remember that capillaries are where we have exchange with fluids that surround our cells, which is called the interstitial fluid. So the interstitial fluid is found between the cells. And when we have capillaries, the capillaries transport substances like water and nutrients and oxygen, and then pick up carbon dioxide and waste products. But sometimes excess water is left in that fluid. And so that interstitial fluid. And so these lymphatic vessels are really strange because they're blind ended and they have little valves. And so if the pressure gets too high in your tissues, then these valves open up and fluid drains into them. So there's really no pump. So like with the veins, we're transporting this fluid under low pressure. Now, when we think about tissue swelling, there are many reasons for why tissues swell, but tissue swelling, which is called edema, could be due to blocked lymphatic vessels. So edema is the term that is used for tissue swelling. So if you have the blocked lymph nodes, sometimes it causes tissue swelling. You might have heard of going into a massage therapist and getting lymphatic massage, where they actually try to get the fluid retention, the fluid that's retained within the tissues, to drain in the lymphatic vessels. So lymphatic massage tries to get this lymph to move more readily so that you reduce the swelling in your body and in your tissues. So here's just a diagram kind of showing how the fluid gets filtered through lymph nodes. And so these lymph nodes were right here. Fluid is picked up and then it is transported through these lymph nodes. And these are where white blood cells reside that give the lymphatic system its immune function. And so it can pick up those microbes and start to recognize them and even destroy them within the lymph nodes. Now, your tonsils are a little bit different. So when we look at the tonsils, and there's actually multiple sets of tonsils. So your tonsils, we have the palatine tonsils, which are the ones that you think of, palatine tonsils. So those are the ones, when you open your mouth, you can see them. They're in the back of the throat. We also have the pharyngeal tonsils. And we have the lingual tonsils. So when we look at these are actually not connected to the lymphatic vessels, but what their job is to actually capture microbes that come into our mouth or to our nose. So these are actually designed to capture microbes. So like, for example, your palatine tonsils actually have grooves in them that sometimes capture not just microbes, but sometimes actually also get food. You can get food in these little crypts of your tonsils. But these tonsils are designed to protect you against infections. They're like sentries that are ready to detect and warn the immune system that something could possibly be coming. So these are associated, the pharynx and the lingual, that's on the back of the tongue. So if you've ever gotten really sick, sometimes the back of your tongue will also swell up. Now we also have the spleen, and the spleen functions not to filter lymph, but it actually filters blood. So there's a couple of functions of the spleen. The spleen has white blood cells that destroy old red blood cells or erythrocytes. So they are helpful in the recycling of our red blood cells. The spleen also stores platelets. And we remember that we talked about how platelets are really important in blood clotting. So that is a summary of the function of your lymphatic system.